Alright, I figured I'd turn this on while we install this side of the motor. We're going to use our clips, bird clips. We went over the instructions on these. We've painted the flat side green, and the round side is towards the wrist pin. Flat side is towards the outside of the piston. You should be able to see that green. When you install it in there, it'll let you know that it's correct. Got some silicone on the bottom of those jugs with the spacers, and I'll set you down here, and we'll go ahead and assemble this engine. So we'll start with number 3, or we'll start with number 4 since that rod's hanging out. It's 4. Cylinder 4. I'm going to go ahead and put our keeper in on the flat side. Installing it in the snap ring pliers. Make sure you squeeze it nice and tight, get it in there. Once I get it in there, I like to move it in the groove. Like so. With the pliers, you gotta put a little pressure. That'll let you know it's in the groove. Pull the pliers out, we double check for the green. Now we're ready to go over to the engine with this. Add a little oil to the pen. Put a little lube on our pen. Not too much lube though. You don't want to compromise your silicone on your cylinders. You can either use silicone or you can use whatever sealer you prefer. Some guys like to use Aviation Permatex, which is fine. That's where it all started, and probably everybody that builds Volkswagen motors has used that product. So here we go. Got to get it spacer started past all the studs. Okay, get the rod up in there. Alright. This spacer is not happy. There we go. It got turned a little bit. Sorry about that. Position our rod, grab our wrist pin next. There we go. It's playing hard to get because the camera's on. I'm probably in your way. You want to be able to push that pin in. It should move freely though. You don't want to have to drive that in with any kind of tool. Again, we have our other pin clip. Green out, flat side towards the flat side faces out. Rounded side goes towards the pin. Again, you want to put that in there and make sure it rotates. A couple of guys have mentioned that they like to place the clips the same way. I've never had a problem with the clips coming out if you use a good quality clip. But it wouldn't hurt as a precaution if you wanted to put all the clips the same way. You could do that. Wouldn't hurt anything. There's our number 3 jug. We're going to put our inboard clip in. Green out. Again, add a little pressure, make sure it rotates. Make sure you see the green. There's that. We'll get our pin and put a little looby snooby on the pen here. Never hurts. Have some Earl. Wipe it in with your finger though so it's not dripping off and it doesn't pull off into your silicone. Again, you should be able to slide that pen in with your finger. Don't drive it in with a hammer, because that's an indication that something's not right in there. Either we didn't lube the bushing up properly, or we have some sort of an issue. Green out. Rotate the pen, make sure it's in the groove. Meow. What's up, Scrapper? You just won't give it up, will you, boy? No quit in that cat. Just centering the jugs up there. And then we'll clean all the smegmite off the studs before we go any further. Want it to look like a new motor when you're done. We're going to use our JC pushrod tubes on here. I don't have them yet, so we'll install our deflector plates under there and our pushrod tubes when they come in. I'm going to go ahead and bolt this together, and we can make our push rods before our tubes get here and set our rocker arm geometry and all that good stuff. There's our O-rings in the head. No sealer on those. Oh, there you go. You didn't roll. Thank God. Here's our washer. It's going to have a flat side and a round side. You want to put the flat side down. Rounded side goes towards the nut. Flat side, nut. Always verify that your washer has two sides. It'll have a flat side and a rounded side, and be sure to use the flat side towards the cylinder head and the rounded side towards the nut. And torque these cylinder heads to 25 foot-pounds. 24 is the recommended. I'll let it sit for a day or two with these torqued to 25, and then I'll retorque them to 27. Will be the final torque. I go a little extra. I'm using a little better quality stud and nut so I can get a little more clamp out of it. You don't want to over tighten it when you incorporate a copper head gasket because it can compromise it. So be moderate. The 4 studs can clamp the head on pretty well in a normal situation. So we went with the 90,000 spacers under the jugs, and 60 in the cylinder head for our copper. So we have a total of 150. And that's on the thin side, but I'm going to run good fuel in this. And like I said, it's a hot street motor anyway, so I don't want to take all the compression out of it and kill the power. I want to be able to go 12s. If I take too much power out of it, it will never reach that gold. And anytime you pull compression out, you pull power out. One of my favorite motors to build is a stock 2276 with a set of wedge port heads. And if you have a really light car and you don't want to turn a lot of RPMs, that's a really good motor. And I use super low compression on that. And we're going to go all over them one more time. All right. That's pretty much the long block there. The heads and the cylinders on. Don't get too excessive with the silicone. You do want it to seal, and I found that that works a little better than the aviation Permatex. If the motor is going to have a little heat in it, that Permatex seems to get a little crystallized and hard now, and it can yield a leak, where the silicone will stay pretty pliable until you take the motor apart. So there we go. We'll get those push rod tubes ordered, and we can put the rocker arms on tomorrow, and we'll make us up some push rods. I think I'm going to use the Berg rockers for now. I have to find out if these are 1.4s or 1.5s, and make my decision. And I do have those Potter style roller rockers, but I don't know if I'm going to use those or not. I may. I'm going to have to do a stud change if I do on the cylinder head. So that'll require pulling these out and changing the studs to the bigger studs for the aluminum rockers. Roller rockers, I should say. Go ahead and show them to you since I'm running my mouth. So there's one of them. And this is the hardware it takes. So you can see it's considerably larger than what's in the head from the factory. Considerably larger. And I think it's going to take a deep valve cover to make those work. So I might have to get some of those Speed Shop valve covers from CB Performance to clear those rocker arms if I go with these. If I go with the Berg, I can go with the rocker stud that's already in here and probably get these under a stock valve cover. So that may change my decision on what I use. This motor is set up for a 1.4 rocker, and these aren't stamped, so I'm going to have to do some math and figure out the ratio on those. And we'll do that when we degree the cam. So that's the point we're at now. We got the degree wheel on there. We'll get that centered up at 0. We'll find TDC. Well, I already found TDC, but we'll set that back at 0. And then we'll look for our opening and closing on our cam timing and see if everything looks correct. And if it does, we can move on and start going to our sheet metal, getting a few more bolts on here. And we need to get a generator or an alternator kit. We'll stick up a MSD distributor for this. We're going to run a 6AL box on here. It's very important that if you're going to build any kind of power at all, that you think about your ignition system. MSD is probably one of the easiest ways to go. I know CB Performance has a good ignition box now, but a consideration over the stock ignition should be part of your build, because if you're going to start adding air and fuel to the motor, you have to be able to burn the extra fuel and air you put in there. And sometimes the factory ignition system, or even like an aftermarket 09, is not enough spark to digest the fuel that'll run through this engine if it's jetted in has the proper ignition system. So at the least, I like to go with a 6AL box. It gives us a rev limiter built into the ignition system, and it gives us a multiple spark at low RPMs, so it keeps the idle nice and clean, and it's just very beneficial to making power with a motor. You can make plenty of power with an 09 distributor. I had one when I was a kid. They didn't have MSDs, and I did pretty well with it, but you always run into a wall with the main jet. You go so far, and then the car doesn't respond to any more jet, and normally that's because it can't process the fuel that you're trying to add to it with the lame dick ignition system. So you need a 6AL for sure, and then if you're going to be doing any kind of high compression Volkswagen racing, you should anytime you get over 14-to-1 compression, you should consider a 7AL box. It's got more milliamps, little longer spark duration, and it helps burn the fuel much better than otherwise a stock ignition would. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Sorry videos are sort of lame today. Didn't feel really Jake today, but I wanted to come out here and get this done. Had a little episode this afternoon, slept it off, and took a nap. Felt a little better. Thought I'd come out here and at least get the long block together. And this will get us moving along where we can order a few more parts and continue on with the build. So, until next time, talk to you later.